What's going on, my broskiis? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, this is going to be more of a discussion style video where we're going to talk about what potential future duel units could actually be like. Now, we know that with the introduction of Cat Viper and Dogstorm, the much anticipated Super Evolution duel units, a lot of people have been asking the question, what else is going to come out? And I think, honestly, there's a lot of really cool things that they could do with a lot of these duel units. So in this video today, we're going to be covering 5 units that I'm most excited for in terms of duel units that are going to be receiving Super Evolutions in the future. Now look, we get Cat Viper Dogstorm now, but who knows how long it's going to be before we get another Super Evolution duel unit. It could be months from now, but hopefully they continue down this line and we can get some really fun characters in the future. Now, the first character that I want to bring your attention to is Marco and Whitebeard. This character right now is not that good, but on release, widely considered to be one of the best, if not the best legend in the game, just due to the durability of the character. Because when he came out, obviously, it wasn't so focused on clearing content as fast as possible. It was just about clearing content in general, and especially because training forests were still relatively prevalent when he came out, being able to clear those training forests was important. And this character had a lot of unique abilities that only he had that enabled him to clear content much easier due to the tankiness and the recovery mechanics that this character got access to. However, when you look at it in today's day and age, the character is no longer very good. This character is a mono sign-int captain, but I think obviously with the introduction of Dog and Cat, they changed their captain abilities to boost more classes. So I think it would be interesting if he boosts like Psi-int and Powerhouse, or Psi-int Fighter, or Striker Powerhouse, because, Whitebeard's a Striker, Marco is a Fighter. Those would honestly be really awesome. But obviously with the Limit Break Sailor ability, one of the crewmate abilities, resisting paralysis and silence completely is just ridiculous. And you have this switch effect, which is also incredibly powerful, being able to reduce the entire crew's paralysis and special bind by 1 turn, makes recovery slots beneficial, and gives himself a recovery slot. They can definitely change this up, because the ability to make slots beneficial, and you needed to use the switch before you use the special to make sure that you actually get matching slots. Really not a fan of that mechanic in general, but the fact that you can add a super swap on top of this, that just opens up the door to incredible possibilities with what they can do with this. Of course, Captain is going to get a much needed buff. The swap, they don't need to change too much with this, but I think if you add a super swap, just like another layer on top of what you already have, you can already see how kind of broken this could potentially be. And, the special ability definitely needs a bit of help. A damage dealing health cut special, recovering 20,000 flat HP. The orb change is probably just going to be a guaranteed full board of slots, or maybe a full board of recovery slots would be kind of interesting. And then potentially adding a boosting effect, because this character doesn't have any boosting offensive capabilities. So I think if they add that on top of what this unit can already do, would probably make this character a well-rounded unit. And on top of the fact that Whitebeard and Marco have actually pretty good support so you can use, especially with the recently released batch of characters. So I think that Whitebeard and Marco are probably up there with one of the most anticipated Duel 6 pluses. So moving on to the number 2 character, just another character that I would love to see get a super evolution is the Zeus, Prometheus, and Big Mom. And I mean, potentially they could just switch it up where they have Hera, which is, the replacement of Zeus in terms of Wano Big Mom. That could honestly happen with a 6+ of this character. And this character on release was definitely outshone, I guess, by the release of Luffy and Law. Luffy and Law, obviously another character that a lot of people want to see get a super evolution, and I would love to see that as well. But of course, I think that giving the support to some of the characters that don't have too many ultra powerful characters is what we need to see, and Big Mom definitely could receive some interesting buffs. The interesting thing about her is that in her solo forms, she's a striker, but then when she combines into her dual form, she's a slasher, so I think that they should probably change that so that she maintains the same classes throughout. But the captain ability requires one of each type, so they need to remove that. They've done that in the past with characters that have once required to have one of each type, so they could probably just scrap all that. This character is very bulky though, 2 times HP, and every time you kill something, you heal a multiplier times the recovery for every enemy that you defeated, but you do have increased damage taken, so there's obviously the trade-off there, but just upped numbers and then maybe an additional effect would be awesome. And the switch effect is the really cool thing about Big Mom, because she removes her own turn paralysis completely, gives herself a matching slot and a 1.5 attack and orb boost for 1 turn. So the interesting thing here is you can just have her on your crew and just continuously switch with her every single turn, continuously receiving a matching slot and continuously getting that 2.25 you know, multiplier when you multiply the attack and orb boost together. It's very strong. And if you think about what they can do with a super evolution, then this obviously could receive a super swap, and you can make this character just hit ultra hard just by herself. Having one character just take out mini bosses is pretty incredible, and I would love to see what they would do, honestly, with the super swap, because I'm not really too sure what they would do with the super swap. They probably would have to have some type of, like, maybe an entire crew paralysis reduction of a certain number would be very cool, and then obviously upping these numbers, these attack and orb numbers, potentially adding it to the entire crew instead. Like the entire crew gets like a 2.25 attack and orb boost or something with a super swap would be pretty absurd, but we have seen pretty crazy super swaps in the past. And then we have the special ability, which definitely needs a bit of a change too, but they could do really good things with this special because it does provide a base attack boost. I believe this was one of the first additions of base attack in the entire game, so this could be upped for sure in terms of guaranteed numbers. And then she also provided a 3.5 chain lock, and of course with the introduction of chain boundary since this character has released, replacing this for a chain boundary would be nuts. So a guaranteed base attack boost of really high numbers, and then a chain boundary, and then potentially just add something else on top of it. I think that Linlin has a lot of potential and a lot of room to grow with her super evolution. Moving on to the next character on my list is the Arlong Pirates. Now this character once again was kind of like the participation prize, the consolation prize to his release, because he debuted alongside Shank's crew, which on release was the best legend in the game. So Arlong really didn't get a lot of time to shine. Arlong on release was pretty bad. Once again, another character that required you to have one of every color on the crew in order to get the most out of him. But when you look past that, there are a lot of redeeming qualities. He does have -3 cooldown in his captain to all characters. That's wicked. If they remove this condition of having one of every color, they have a really good attack multiplier, makes strength slots beneficial. You do lose HP at the end of every single turn, very similar to Legend Hody Jones. The Fishmen typically like to have that, but I do think that there is potential here. You can make some really interesting speed farming captains, maybe even go to -4 cooldown, right? That would be really nuts if he had an effect like that. Now, one big thing about him is that he completely resists special reverse, which is good, and he provides -2 cooldown with his special ability alone. And obviously you've got the special that provides a really good attack boosting effect, which is also very strong. So they could potentially just up this attack number and potentially make him reduced redundancy in the fact that, you know, make him provide an attack boost, but if you already have an attack boost, potentially get an orb boost instead. And they could even go one step further, kind of like Final Tap Kid, where if you already have an attack and an orb boost, you get a color affinity instead. I think something like that would be pretty cool. And the switch effect definitely needs a buff, because it only gives himself a matching slot, and it gives you a base attack boost based on your HP. So the lower your HP, the bigger base attack boost you get. But the thing is, the base attack boost you get at the max capacity is only 250, which is a terrible base attack boost. Like support effects and crewmate effects give better effects than this. So the thing is this needs to be changed, and I think the best way that they could do it is maybe make it a flat 500 base attack for all characters, but then in the special ability, kind of make it similar to Roger and Whitebeard, where when you use Roger and Whitebeard special, you know, you can buff your attack and orb boost to a set number. So I think if, you know, you have this switch effect to get a guaranteed base attack boost and then a special that buffs any base attack boost you have to like 2000 or something like that. That on top of providing, you know, the cooldown reduction and obviously resisting it in his limit break ability, potentially resisting it in his captain ability would also be really cool. Like if he reduces cooldown by 2, resist 2 turns of special reverse in his captain. Like that would be so cool if we got an effect such as that. So I think Arlong crew, there's a lot of cool mechanics that they could really utilize with him, and I think with the base attack boost and the interesting things with that and the special reverse mechanics, Arlong is definitely a character I would love to see get a Super Evo. Next one on the list is going to be Blackbeard, the V2 Blackbeard, either way. This character, man, what a roller coaster of a character this one is. So I think a lot of people already know the issues with this unit. You know, obviously the captain being focused on driven powerhouse, that's completely fine. We're okay with that. The captain ability in and of itself is actually not terrible. You know, every time he takes damage, you receive cooldown. You will also have 10% of HP cut when you're in the Whitebeard form, and then you've also got the effect where he, you know, just can do really interesting things. Every time you enter a stage, you're doing a 10% health cut, and it goes through normal attacks only. So we know that doing health cuts through normal attacks only is very powerful, as we've seen in Super Boss Kizunas. When they don't have that gray shield, being able to utilize the Blackbeard captains to get the 2 health cuts is very strong, and I think that they could really utilize some good buffs with this character. So as I said, captain ability doesn't really need that much of a change. Obviously bigger multipliers would be nice, but this effect of any time you use an effect that provides a rainbow shield, a threshold reduction, damage nullification, any defensive buff is overwritten with a 2x attack booster driven in Powerhouse. And this effect is not great because obviously you lose out on using tanky specials, but at the same time, the fact that you can just generate attack boosts from nothing is also pretty interesting. I do think that this number needs to change, or alternatively, once again, bringing it back to Roger and Whitebeard, if he has a part of his special that says any attack boost that you have, like buff it to a certain multiplier or add a certain multiplier to the attack boost, I think that is one way that they can kind of circumvent the issue of having a low attack multiplier with his captain ability. However, the other big issue is that the switch ability, while it is interesting, you know, removing Despair and Special Bind completely on himself, giving himself a guaranteed matching slot. The main issue is when you use his special ability, he can combine into his dual form for up to 8 turns, and when you're in the dual form, obviously you can't use the switch effect. So that's obviously a big problem. And the special ability in and of itself doesn't really provide that much, a 1.0 chain boost, and extends any attack and orb buffs by 1 turn. So what I think they need to do is potentially increase the extension of attack and orb boosts. I think that the chain buff needs to be changed to a chain boundary effect. And obviously this character is focused with the special to extend attack and orb boosts. You know, you generate them from the captain ability, extend them so you keep them for a very long time. Why not in his captain ability have the effect similar to Legend Roger, V1 Roger, where you can resist the beneficial effects from being blown away? If they do that, it means that this effect of generating these attack boosts, extending them, keeping them for a long amount of time, you can keep them for a long time, and then changing it to a chain boundary for like 3 turns or something like that. All of these effects would make this character way more versatile and way more usable in content. And obviously you look at the switch effect, removing Despair and Special Bind completely on himself. Why not just have him remove Special Bind in his special as well? Like, it makes perfect sense. They did it with Legend Shiki with his Super Evolution. He had a crewmate ability that resisted Special Bind, and he never had a special that removed it. But then with his Super Evolution, they decided to add it to that character. And I think the same thing could be said with these dual units with their Super Evolution. You could look at their sailors or their switch effects and generate additional effects that could be added to their special or captains that make do with what they already do. So I think that Blackbeard has, again, a lot of room to grow, like a lot of these characters on this list. But Blackbeard, because of how terrible he was on release, I think that a lot of people are looking forward to finally being able to use this character, you know, kind of like in his prime with amazing abilities. And the fact that he is driven powerhouse, he has great synergy with a lot of other characters in the game. But of course, because he has a lot of good synergy with other good driven and powerhouse characters, there's a lot more desirable captains you would rather use over a character such as this. So for that reason, the special ability of this character definitely needs the biggest buff. And the next one is Vivi and Rebecca. This is the last one we're going to cover in this video, and I think Vivi and Rebecca also are kind of an interesting position where, you know, when they came out, they were widely considered to be like one of the best subs in the game, and, you know, that switch effect really carried them through a lot of content. And in a lot of ways, you kind of had to have this unit in order to clear some of the most difficult content in the game back in the day. So I think it's kind of interesting to kind of look at this character now and thinking, you know, this character is really not that good. So what can they kind of do to make this character better with a super evolution? Now, the main issue with this unit is that their captain ability was borderline unusable. It is a rainbow captain at the end of the day, but it's such a low attack multiplier, 1.75 times attack. However, you do receive a 2.5 color affinity boost. So that's the way this character worked, is while yes, you do have a low attack boost, if you attack with type advantage, you're going to be hitting very, very hard. So characters that are focused like that, even like V2 Katakuri, for example, very difficult to use. A lot of people don't like using those types of units as captains. So they should probably switch it around where the attack multiplier is actually pretty good, and then supplement it with a very minor color affinity boost. And the way that I kind of looked at it is like you could potentially do like a 4 times attack boost in their solo form, and then just up the color affinity or lower the color affinity to like a 1.2. So if you do 4 times attack, 1.2 affinity, and then a 4.5 attack, attack in their dual unit with a 1.2 affinity, well, yes, it's still not a desirable captain. It definitely makes it better. But if they do that, on top of adding a utility effect in their captain, that could persuade people to use them as captains due to just the innate ability to resist debuffs. I think that's one way they could go about it. Now, I think that the switch effect of this unit, while it was very good on release, has definitely aged kind of poorly, honestly. You know, the dex and strength slots of Striker and Cerebral switching is quite good. The healing is nice, and especially when you stack it with, you know, auto heal sockets and then another ship that can provide 1,000 healing. Healing up to 4,000 per turn is fantastic, and then a 2.5 chain lock. Like, it's one of the best switches in the game. Even to this day, it's still pretty good, I guess. But once again, with a super switch, you can do some crazy good stuff. I think the base switch effect, this should be changed to maybe a 2.0 chain boundary. I think that would be kind of interesting, or even just a 2.5 chain boundary with a swap. That'd be kind of busted, I think. But then when you think about a super swap, I think that they could probably just change slots, just guaranteed slots, maybe guaranteed healing, and then do like an additional effect, whether it be like a cooldown reduction. We haven't seen a cooldown reduction switch effect since Kaido Crew with their super swap. Something like that would be kind of interesting, but also maybe like a locking of slots with a super swap would be interesting too. But the special ability, this character special is still very strong, being able to remove all turns of Blue Shield and Rainbow Shield. It's never gonna be a bad thing to have, but on top of that, it does only provide a 2x affinity to Cerebral and Striker, so once again, this special needs to change. I think that the affinity will probably stay and will likely just be upped in terms of the multiplier number, but additional abilities would be nice. It would be kind of interesting if they decided to remove Rainbow, Blue, and then Threshold completely. I mean, just make this unit absolutely nuts in terms of removing those defensive gimmicks. But I mean, they could do lots of different things with this unit. They could make this character more offensive, adding more boosts into their special. I'm not really too sure in terms of where they would go with this unit. I assume that a character such as this, considering it could go in so many different directions, they would probably design this unit in terms of the buffs around content that would release around this unit. I don't think that, you know, there's too many things you could really think about that you could add to this unit, because it could go in a lot of different ways, because the special doesn't do that much, but what it does is already very good. So I'm not really too sure in terms of what they could do with it, but I would like to see this character become way more usable in the game, so we'll have to wait and see. But look, there are so many dual units in the game, Luffy and Ace obviously, but we already have a lot of good Luffys in the game, so I'm not that excited for Luffy and Ace, but it would be cool to see it. Bato and Cavendish, Sanji and Judge, one of my favorites for sure. Sabo Koala would be cool. There's just so many good units to see here, and it is nice that we now know that these characters can receive super evolutions in the future, so it just makes me very, very excited. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. What would you like to see in terms of a super evolution for a dual unit within 2023 in One Piece Treasure Cruise? It is going to wrap it up from me though. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all the content I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. On that, guys, I will see you guys within the next video.